This is Steve Bishop from ProgrammingMadeEasy.com and, of course, Gartman Technical Services at GartmanTechnical.com. So today I've got another In My Opinion video for you guys, and this one's going to be a little different because typically I'm getting questions from you guys and giving you my opinion on the questions that you guys have. And I got some really good ones lately, but please keep sending me those questions. I really need your questions in order to keep this series going. So if you have a question, please drop it in the comment section below this video. And of course, if I've got time, I will definitely get to it. I just continuously add your questions to my list, and then every week I just kind of go through and find the one that I want to target for this particular week. Now, this time it's going to be a little bit different, and that's because something came up on comments. I don't typically do any comments on YouTube, but I kind of bounce back and forth between some different developers here and there that I like to watch and listen to. And an interesting thing came up. One of the people that I subscribe to is Mosh. Some of you guys may know Mosh. He has a really great channel. He does some great things on there. He's on Pluralsight. He's also on Udemy. So he's got, lots and lots of tutorials out there for a lot of people, and he does a really fantastic job. So I don't want this to be like I'm bashing on him kind of thing, because I'm really not. I think I just want to re-emphasize something that I find is very common in the industry. In us, me as a previously I still do some Access development, but with Access especially, it's kind of the, pardon the pun here, but because I got red hair, but the redheaded stepchild, right? Access is kind of seen as this redheaded stepchild of the development world. Nobody thinks that it's really all that fantastic, or it's all that good, or it's, it's capable of doing really all that much stuff in an enterprise environment. And so I was looking through Mosh's I was looking at Mosh's most recent post that he made here, his most recent video, Late Hour Q&A with Mosh, which it was a really good video. It's about the differences between junior and senior developers. And it was a pretty well-informed and pretty well-detailed explanation of what the difference is between junior and seniors. But there was one thing that he said in there which kind of raised my eyebrow, and might raise your eyebrows. He says it pretty early in the video, but it's basically he's saying, that he's got people that he knows that have been doing Access database development for like 20 years, and they're kind of stuck in a rut and they're not getting out of anything, and they're not true senior developers. So I of course took umbrage with that, and so I just posted, what's wrong with Access? I bet it does more than you think. And he responded to me just a little while ago. As a matter of fact, he says, Access is a small toy database engine for non-programmers and shouldn't be used in enterprise applications. And, this is a guy that's been in the industry for a really long time. I'm sure that he's had ample opportunity to investigate in Access, and I just don't think that he actually has ever truly dug into it to the depths at which you and I probably have. I would ask this: what platform can you do where you can combine multiple data sources into one single query? I can make a query that can pull from Oracle, from MySQL, MS SQL, Access, and even an Excel spreadsheet, and I can do it all in one query. Tell me of any other platform that can really do that. You could do it in, at least that I know of, in Microsoft SQL Server, and there are some other SQL servers that you can pull in some other sources, but it's really slow doing it that way. Linked servers are not that great. And then, of course, if you are going to be trying to speed that up, you're going to have to use like an open query, and open queries are kind of difficult to navigate those waters if you're not really experienced with it, to try to speed up those queries. But with Access, it's, it just pulls the data and then, has its own database engine to take all that information and rearrange it into the way that it wants. It's one of the great things about Access is the ability to pull data from multiple sources and combine them into one single point of your data, so that you can, now I can take that query that I wrote and I can build a report off of it. And building a report is extremely simple in Access. You can do it very, very easily. I would say that just because it's a good, simple tool to use doesn't mean it's a toy, right? I think that's kind of the, and maybe he would want to reword it. Maybe he would want to rephrase it because he's being challenged on it. I can understand that. Maybe toy wasn't necessarily the right word to use. But it's just kind of an interesting general feeling in the industry that Access is just not a real true environment. Like, you can't really do proper development. And to his point of and shouldn't be used in enterprise applications, I got news for you. It's used in enterprises everywhere. One of my clients alone, and I think I've brought this up as a point before, one of my clients has about, I'd say, 700 employees, around 40 to 50 databases, Access databases running all on multiple terminal servers with SQL servers as backends. I mean, it's common. And somebody would say, well, then you're actually using SQL. Well, yeah, of course you're using SQL because that's what you do. You know, you're using SQL Server for all the other development environments too. And yes, I'm using Access as a front end, but one of the great things about using Access as a front end is that it has its own internal engine. And I can do things like taking information from other sources and combining them into one, which you can't really do that. I don't have a SQL database engine that I can put on someone's local machine easily to do all of this combining and grabbing of data sources. I can't do that. It's more client-side driven as far as how the data aggregation comes. You can't do that in almost any other environment. I don't know what other application you can possibly do that in, where you can have the client side do all of the data aggregation for you. I don't know where you can get that. And that's one of the great utilities and great tools about Access. So I think it does more than just that. It does more than just, you know, a small little non-programmerish thing, because as we've seen, VBA is basically a version of Visual Basic 6. It can do a lot of things, and yes, you might need a third-party tool that you need to go reference in order to do some special things, but it does have that expandability. You can pull in COM objects as a reference in Access. And now once you have RubberDuck, if you use RubberDuck, you have, you know, unit testing, you have, of course, you have interfaces that you can do abstractions with too, that we've talked about previously on this channel. So you can do some proper solid code in your applications. You can, I hope that they start fixing, I hope they really get fixed that source control with GitHub, because that's really, really important, I think. We really need to get that fixed. So I hope RubberDuck really gets stepped up on that. I don't know, I don't really have the time to dedicate to doing something like that. Just kind of, this is a little bit off topic, but with RubberDuck, I would just really want to see that GitHub source control get fixed, but unfortunately, I just don't have the time to work on it myself. But I really hope, and I really promote those guys. So if you have any experience and you're watching this video, go check out RubberDuck. Try to get their GitHub source control thing fixed, because once they do, it's going to be awesome. Okay. So anyway, you've got all this stuff, all these tools, all these things that you can do in Access, and the majority of the people that are out there, the majority of the developers that are out there, don't know that you can do all this stuff in Access. So they think, just as Mosh does, it's a small toy. It's a glorified Excel, right? There's no place for it in an enterprise environment, because enterprise needs to have scalability, and they don't realize that you can scale up Access. It's a great tool. If you release your applications in ACCDE, then your code is compiled, and it's non-accessible, and there's so many different things that you can do if you just know how to do it, right? If you just do the research, if you just figure out how to do it, Access can be an enterprise level IDE. It can be. And not only that, it is rapid application development. It is fast. You can build stuff quickly. It's one of the fastest ways you can build something, okay, is doing it in Access. Now, granted, there are limitations. I've been very open about this on Access. There are limitations. I don't like the web access. the outlet, the Access web applications. I don't think that they're all that good. And as a matter of fact, Microsoft is removing them. They've announced recently that they're not going to have Access web applications in the future. So future versions of Access won't support it. And I've never really been a big fan of them, but I know a lot of people like them. But as far as, it's also incapable of doing mobile, right? You can't do a mobile application on a phone, which is unfortunate too. I would love to see Access be able to do mobile, but of course, what are you going to do? But it is working for desktop environments. And that's the funny thing, is that enterprise applications are typically desktop applications, right? Enterprise environments, almost everybody that's there is sitting in front of a desktop doing their work. They're not using their phones very often. They're not using tablets. They're not using, they're not looking to do web-based stuff all the time. They're perfectly content opening up an application that runs on their desktop. That is the typical enterprise situation. Now, moving forward, I think that's going to change. I do think that there's going to be more inroads towards web environments as being the primary way that enterprises build their applications. And I do tell my customers, I do tell my clients, the future is not in Access. Okay, the future is not in Access. But if you need something right now that's going to get up and running, that does what you need it to, and you can customize it, you can custom build it, you can do it fast. You got all the tools to pull in multiple different data sources into one place. And it is scalable. It is something that does scale very nicely as long as you do it properly, as long as you are much more VBA code heavy and try not to rely so much on the database engine itself, and maybe hand off some of those things as pass-through queries to the SQL Server whenever you can. But whenever you do need to do data integration from multiple sources, then you definitely want to use the local, the local ACE engine that's built into Access. So there's ways to manage Access in ways to make it very, very scalable and a great solution for a lot of scenarios that companies find themselves into. Now, convincing them that is the way that they should go, convincing a customer that Access is the solution for their enterprise needs, runs into this wall right here that we have with Mosh. He's a developer. He's a well-known developer. It's the same mentality. It's the same thought that's gone on in the industry for a long time, is that Access is just a small toy database. It's a glorified Excel spreadsheet. It doesn't do everything that you need it to in an enterprise environment. And unfortunately, because that's the prevailing thought in the industry, you run into a lot of stumbling blocks trying to convince anyone that it is the solution to their particular issue. So I think they're wrong. I think that there's this place for Access. I don't think that you ever want to discard something that is a possible working solution. Once you understand something, and I guess that's probably the thrust of this video. Just because you don't understand something doesn't mean that it's not useful. Okay, it doesn't mean that it's not a possible solution to a customer's problem. Okay, even if it's the most hideous thing you've ever worked with, trust me, I've seen plenty of applications that are hideous and horrible to work with, but they have their applications, they have their uses, and lots of businesses find themselves reliant upon these applications. Now, Access, I wouldn't put in that category. I don't think it's hideous, because Access itself is just a platform. It depends on the developer. It's up to you to utilize the tool effectively and build your applications in a way that works for that particular enterprise. So anyway, that was my video. I just really kind of wanted to talk about that, because having this back and forth with Mosh really kind of prompted me to think about it and wanted to express my opinion here on this video series. So anyway, thank you so much for watching, guys. Again, if you have any other questions, if you have a question about this video, please drop me that comment in the comment section below. Any other topic that you want me to talk about, really anything at all. It doesn't even have to be technical. Please feel free to drop me that question in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye-bye.